Every day, you essentially pay your dues by doing the harder thing when it's the right thing to do. There are different types of overtraining, some that are adaptive and some that are maladaptive, right? So there's sometimes an intentional overtraining, which is called functional overtraining, which is when you really are deliberately trying to stress somebody more than they're capable of to create a change. And so that's a part of all sports, and that's necessary in all sports and gymnastics in order to get people stronger or get them ready for routines, right? Like doing 4-bar routines clearly is more than you would do in a meet, right? But that's overtraining to intentionally kind of get you fatigued and then make you do a 4th bar set when maybe you're a little bit tired, because that's going to help your body adapt. So there's a functional overtraining, which is when you're very, very methodical with it. You plan. There's this term called periodization, which I'm not sure if you're familiar with that, but essentially that is like the intentional manipulation of training load, higher or lower, to create a response. And so I think that if people only just say like overtraining in general, and sometimes like, oh, that's a bad thing. A good rule of thumb is 1/3 of the time in the gym should probably be spent on strength conditioning or physical preparation, right? And for me, physical preparation includes strength, flexibility, dance, all that kind of stuff. Like it's all into one bucket. So I personally feel as though, particularly with younger athletes, it's like 30 to 40% is probably on physical preparation and just foundational work. And then 30% of the time, or 33, if you're looking at numbers, is probably like more basics and drills and foundational stuff and just really perfect technique. I think so many people don't unfortunately put in the work to just getting strong and having really good fundamentals and basics. And they're kind of going like way more on the skill side, and that kind of throws them off. And then the last 33% is kind of on the actual event stuff, 10 releases or 5 tumbling passes, whatever it is. So I think that's a really good rule of thumb. That being said, I think it changes based on the level and the age and the goal of the athlete. And it also changes based on the time of the year. Season in the summer, that 3 months in the States here, it's right from June to whatever, August, or from international, it's elsewhere. You only have 3 months to get stronger, right? That's only like the biggest time that you can really get more kind of strength under your belt. Like you don't get stronger during season. And we're starting to see that now with some data we're doing, is you actually probably get weaker as the season goes on because it's so hard on your body temporarily. So in the off season, you should be putting a ton of your eggs in the strength bucket. Like we probably do 50% of our time between weightlifting a few days and gymnastics specific body weight conditioning a few days, and then every day to warm up body weight specific conditioning. So that should be probably the focus more in the summer, and then off season it transitions to a little bit more split. And then obviously in season, you're not spending 2 hours doing conditioning every day the week of a meet, right? That's insane. So you probably got to shift back to the other side, which is probably, more time on the skills, the routines, the pressure sets, the mock meet simulation. So I think it ebbs and it flows, and that's kind of what periodization is. And these kind of like hybrid models that I teach and that I've worked with other, colleges and national teams for, I think that's what we promote, and it seems to be really effective. So if you look at the literature would tell you that like athletes should generally not train more than their age per week in training hours, right? So 10 years old up until the age of 15. So like 10 hours per week for a 10-year-old, 12 hours per week for a 12-year-old, right? But you look at gymnastics, I for fact know some level 4 teams that train 20 hours a week and the kids are like 8, right? That's insane. I think that's too much, right? And you also have some elites that are training 30 to 35 hours per week doing 2-a-days, right? So I think there's like a bell curve here, and there's like a bumpers on each side, right? I don't think we should take the recommendations, because gymnastics is so hard. It's unlike many other sports. And the reality is that a lot of the things that need to, for high level goals like scholarships or elite teams, stuff like that, they happen earlier in gymnastics, right? We're not having 40-year-old elite gymnasts yet that are a regular thing. It's happening more and more. But right now, the culture has not supported that. So I think we need to go a little bit more aggressive on training hours per week. But I think it's absolutely insane for 8-year-olds to 10-year-olds to be training 20 to 25 hours per week. Like there's so much junk mileage that's in those training sessions. It's insane. So I think it's probably, for me, I teach people that it's probably going to be your age equals your training hours plus or minus 3 up until the age of about 15, right? So I think that a 12-year-old who has high level goals can train 15 or so hours per week and maybe do some extra conditioning to make it 16 or 17 on the side and stuff. Like I think that's realistic. And then I think that, like an 8-year-old training 10 hours per week is not the craziest thing. And it's hard here because the quality of your training hours and the quantity of your training hours are completely different. The other thing that's really challenging too is because of that slope of age and demand on the athletes, a lot of athletes are under the gun to get all their skills when they're in high school, because their big shot is the Olympics, is in that age range of 18 to 21. But now with, name and gym likeness and stuff like that, and like other college recruiting deals that can happen on the side with brands and stuff, people can probably train till, like the guys do, through college onto the Olympics after. And like until that fully changes where athletes are able to train elite and college together and go upward into elite after college if they want, or during college, I think that's going to be a huge barrier to overcome. And one of the reasons is the 10-0 scoring system in college, right? Because the men are open-ended. It's a code. It's a little bit easier to get your skills back for elite, but like women's is still a 10. And I know the fanship and the marketing is there, but it's a tug of war. It's a tug of war between doing your watered down basic set and then all of a sudden having to get your double back to go to a national qualifier stuff. Like, it's hard. So we have to have more creative discussions about how we can allow athletes to go through college on the female side and excel into the later years like the guys do, because I think the majority of the guys come from college programs for the Olympic team. So